welcome back to a monthly check-in where we check in with each other's goals every month. Something you're grateful for. Let's start off like that.
Wow, right off the bat, what am I grateful for?
Yeah.
I am grateful for the fact that we're here today, talking to each other about one another's goals. You know, that's what I'm grateful for.
Okay.
Just gonna stick with that.
Okay. I'm grateful for, that chicken sandwich was good.
Oh, it really was.
Yeah. I'm grateful for the ring light.
Yeah.
I hope the video catches and it's not looking like what we're
And
saying.
hey, if it doesn't, that's just life, man. And we gotta deal with it.
Okay.
Don't get so caught up in life's tribulations. Just keep moving forward. That's the advice for today. Keep moving forward, as Rocky Balboa says.
Oh, did he say that?
Yeah, man, it's a very motivational scene. Sometimes
Well, I watch all of them.
What? Motivational videos?
No, all of the movies, bro. You only seen. You didn't. I bet you didn't even see the movies.
Nah, I did watch one of the movies for a film class because I had to analyze it.
Okay.
But yeah,
that's not important. What's a question that you have that I'm not gonna
sure.
steal or anything?
Well, I mean, all of these questions.
Oh yeah, they're related to me, right?
I guess it can be asked by
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay. So my first question is, a lot's changed in your life over the past month. I guess you would say career-wise and religiously, maybe. Yeah. But anyways, in what ways has that impacted your why? Like, how has that changed your why?
So my why has never been clear. I've always just wanted to make an impact somehow, and I feel like every month it would change some way because I don't know what the process would be and like how I'm impacting. And I would be inspired by the things that I was inspired by. YouTube videos, inspiring companies, projects, and I would just take the opportunity to replicate, like, okay, what can I do now? Which is a good thing, rather than just sit around and wonder. But so I started a YouTube channel, and what's the question, how has it impacted my why?
Yeah, so you recently shifted from making YouTube videos, primarily on investing in Cardano, to making TikToks. About, that's a huge 180 there, to say the least.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, luckily you're just starting off in your career, so it's like not too drastic of a change because you weren't making, in the grand scheme of things, you weren't making YouTube videos for that long,
And what I felt like I was, because I didn't have my why structured, like how I wanted to impact people, I ended up in a seat of, well, I guess I'm just making videos about this technology and like, hey, you guys can invest in it. That's cool. Which, there's nothing wrong with doing that. Like, Graham Stephan does an amazing job. Meet Kevin does an amazing job. All these financial YouTubers do, like, really help people out in making investment decisions. I didn't feel like that was what really started off making me think that wasn't for me was me getting into the religion, Catholicism. Like the beginning of this year, I didn't know what to expect. I just know that I had problems. I still have problems. And I was like, okay, I need God. How can I find him and discover him?
What did you need God? What was, making you call out to God or wanting to rediscover your faith?
I still have bad habits. Like, I grew up with my phone, on the iPad from, 8th grade? No, from 10 years old up to my age now.
Oh, yeah. I remember, we would always, whenever we'd hang out with each other, most of the time would be spent on your iPad.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I would just, take it from you and play Minecraft on it.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
No, but I still have a lot of habits that I built that, and yeah, I had a lot of bad habits, but mostly I was going to church every Sunday with no understanding of the faith, and I just felt like, well, what am I doing here? Why am I here?
Okay.
And I wanted to discover that.
Yeah, so you were showing up to church, but you didn't know what the reason was for why you were going there, and you wanted to find that out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yeah. And it seems like, I wouldn't say you completely figured it out because it's such a vast religion. As you said, like in one of your TikToks, I think that's the great thing about it is that, you'll never truly understand it, and that's what makes it, interesting. And, it encourages you to keep discovering more about the faith and gaining a better understanding.
Yeah, man. 2,000 years of tradition of thinking, theology. So,
what do you think, like, the faith would be like if, or like all faiths in general, if, there was like this definite piece of evidence that showed, like one faith is, I don't really want to word it this way, but how would, people react to, I don't know, just like knowing everything about a faith? Do you think the fact that like there's some unknowns to a faith is what keeps it prevalent? If you get what I mean.
So, yeah, I think one thing we gotta understand is like the reason why most people are either not believing in Catholicism or just like most people don't know anything, like they're not exposed to it. So that's one. Most people, so there's some people that reject it despite a bunch of evidence laid out, because there is evidence about things that connect. I couldn't answer you specifically, like I'm still at the beginning stages of learning it, but there is evidence from a historical standpoint, from things just making sense in the Bible, like connecting, and from people having those different accounts of like, hey, this happened to me, and like it would all connect over a course of like thousands of years. But most people don't hear about it or don't ask it. So I think what you were asking is like, how would people react to the evidence? The evidence is existing, and God is always calling us to Him, to know Him. But there's so much that we fill our lives with that distracts us from Him, from receiving Him, that even when God is calling us, and including me, I don't hear it, or I don't give enough time to try and hear it. So it's you gotta start somehow. Like just
and that goes for everything.
Yeah. But let me ask you. You started college, right? When was that?
Yep, started college again.
You seem very happy about it.
Oh, well, I mean, the way I word it, it makes it seem like I'm not too happy about it, but so far it's been all right. Yeah. I mean, I like being able to go on campus and connect with more people. And I found a way to make it work for me. It'd be easy for me to just complain, like, oh man, I have to go to college. But, there's people who aren't able to go to college. So I feel like it's wrong for me to complain about this situation that I'm in. And I make it work for me. I have appointments and showings that go on around the university that I go to. So I see it as a benefit, me being able to go on campus, and then after my class, I go straight to that appointment.
Let me tap it. Okay. Good.
Yeah, we still good.
All right, bro. But yeah, we can go after this in the middle end part.
ask the rest, because I have a couple more questions.
Yeah. You got a couple more.
Like 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ask her what?
Oh, you want me to ask them now? Okay. Okay. Yeah, so we never really brought it up in the discussion yet, but why did you decide to quit YouTube? And then how hard was it for you to make that decision?
I'll start with why I why I quit YouTube was because I was feeling like I was putting myself in a box of I want to make impact, but is Cardano really that means? Like, is me preaching videos about Cardano really that means? And the answer is no. And as I learned more about Catholicism, and if what it's saying is true, then it would just make sense that if I wanted to make the most impact, and I wouldn't have to do it by my means and what I originally planned. But if God originally planned something for each one of us, and it's about having our will and His will together, just letting God into my life and deciding okay, I'm going to be serving God in some way and showing other people, sharing Catholic teaching, which is a complete 180 from your Cardano videos.
Yeah.
But really, the reason it was so difficult is because I felt like I had such a responsibility to all the videos that I made about Cardano, and of course, I never planned on leaving from the beginning. The reason I started YouTube was because I wanted to have impact, and I knew that viewership is a huge part in that. Just look at what Mr. Beast is doing. Look at, I can't really think of anyone right now, but
yeah, Mr. Beast is the top dog.
Yeah.
If you say Mr. Beast, you can't include anybody else on that list.
No, but it's because I grew up in the culture where all of us watch YouTube, and I know the power of that. The currency right now is attention, and if we're all focusing on noise, on entertainment videos, on a bunch of videos every day, none of us are focusing on God. We never have time for it because we always have our phones. We always have something placed in front of God. And so to be able to use the technology that we have as a means of putting God first and feeding that demand that people have for meaning, then that would be a pretty impactful thing. At least I think so.
Right. So I mean, your whole point of starting YouTube, you didn't really know in the beginning what it is you wanted to do to make an impact. You just know that you wanted to make an impact.
Yeah.
And I feel over time you would you start this one thing and then you wouldn't really feel it, and then start this other thing. What I'm trying to get at here is do you think this is the one, the one thing that you're gonna settle on and that you're gonna stay committed to, regardless of how long it takes? Do you think this is what you were meant to do?
Yes, because there's nothing more important than God and Jesus and that event that God became man and sacrificed himself for us out of love. There's nothing more important than that, in my opinion. So, TikTok is just a small version, first steps of that.
Yeah.
Of seeing, okay, there's a bunch of kids my age or whoever on TikTok that are just scrolling 1 hour a day, probably, on TikTok. So I'll try and jump in there and see what kind of videos I can provide. That's just one portion of what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And on another side, I'm also going to be helping Catholic churches who most of the priests actually all of the priests, they have to go through a seminary, which is a school. So you basically have to, almost like a doctor, the amount of years that they spend in seminary. So there's a lot of learning, a lot of praying, and a lot of asking, do I actually believe this and any of this stuff? So what I'm saying is, there's a lot of opportunity for people like us who don't know much about Catholicism to learn. And the Catholic Church, most of the people there don't know how to
connect with.
Yeah, they don't know how to connect
with the younger demographic, which is where there's the most potential for. Because older people, for the most part, they practice. They're more involved with their faith than the younger generation, because, like you said, technology has created a disconnect between whatever religion they were practicing before, or like they grew up with. Yeah, it's distracted them, and I think it's kind of like a blessing, so to say, that you're using that exact technology that's distracted them from their faith to bring them back into their faith. Yeah. It kind of becomes like an ironic blessing. Like something ironic in a good way.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah. There's plenty of stories in the Bible where you would think that, like, I'll give you an example, Jonah and the fish. God tells...
Oh, I've heard of that one.
Yeah. I just heard about this, like, recently.
You never heard about Jonah?
I've heard the name, but I've never actually, like...
Oh, yeah, I've only heard the name. I just know that Jonah got ate by a fish.
Yeah. Jonah heard a message from God somehow. Jonah, I want you to serve me. I want you to spread, like, the word, spread a message, and prophesy to the people around you. And he was like, I'm good. And he literally tried running away.
I'd rather watch some TikToks.
Who knows what, dude, he was scared, but imagine if God called you to do something.
He thought he was going crazy. He probably knew it was God, it's just he didn't want to make that commitment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's why he ran to another town, tried to run far away as possible from the place where God called him. And he ended up on a boat, traveling to this town, and there was a huge storm. And he just knew that God was angry with him, and he got thrown into the water. You know the story, a giant whale came up and ate him. And through that story, God rose him from the dead.
Who, Jonah?
Yeah, he rose him from...
Oh, he died?
Yeah, he died for 3 days I believe it was 3 days in the stomach of the whale. And so the story is God rose him from the dead. And that is a kind of wink at how Jesus died on the cross and rose from the dead. And like, through what seems like, through evil, God can bring out a greater good. Which is kind of like, anything that the devil throws at us, God can use for good, if we only let him. Which is kind of what you were saying about irony.
Yeah.
But yeah, what I want to do is, that's the reason why I look so much up to people like you with work ethic, people like Kobe Bryant, people like Jimmy, Mr. Peace. Oh yeah, Kobe Bryant, rest in peace.
Kobe.
People with work ethic, I always looked up to them. I just didn't have that why of why I want to work hard. And now I really...
That's where a work ethic stems from.
Yeah.
That's house career. I think everybody has the potential of developing a work ethic.
Absolutely.
It's all within us. I mean, I remember how I was like, before I developed my work ethic, I didn't have one at all. Mm-hmm. I was just living my day-to-day and not really doing much with my life, not progressing at all. Mm-hmm. But it's really funny how it happens. It's just kind of instantaneous. Mm. It's not really a gradual transition. You just start caring about your life all of a sudden. And that happens when you discover your why. Mm.
Yeah, I told you my why was to retire my family.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up. Is that still a part of your plan?
The reason I wanted to retire my family, and I still do it, it's not like I don't see them work so hard and I'm like, you guys got it. I had a strong desire for it because I felt their pain. I felt their just fatigue of how long they've been working. And before I ask God, and before I work towards, or before I assume that wealth is the answer to the problems, I also got to realize a relationship with God and a relationship with Jesus is the meaning of life, is what happiness stems from. And wealth is a good thing. It can't be placed before God. God has to come first. That's something that I've learned over the past 6 months, is that God has to be first. And it's really difficult to understand what that means. There's a lot of things that it seems like people are happy, and maybe they are, but deep down we still all search for and long for that thing in our lives that is outside of ourselves. And that's why so many wealthy people, they go about, when in their retirement, they mentor kids a lot. Like the guy I met on LinkedIn, he was just helping me out, trying to provide me guidance. But we all search for meaning, and the Catholic Church teaches that Jesus is that meaning. I don't even know if you asked a question there. Did that connect with the question?
I don't remember what question I asked. I think I was dialoguing.
Okay.
And then you chimed in. But do you still plan on achieving financial freedom? Is that a goal of yours? And you say that you still want to retire your family. Do you have a plan for how you're going to do that?
Yeah. I'm struggling. I don't have
and you don't have to have the exact plan, but
yeah.
What's going to be your way of generating an income?
I want to still generate passive income for my family, for those in my life. The way I've been thinking about it is that and I'm still working through this, it's not like a definitive plan. I know that I want to consult churches and Catholic channels or Catholic online pages on how to run a YouTube channel and how to make good content, how to boost viewership. And I also want to be more involved in different types of groups and ministries. I don't have a definitive how to monetize. I just know that I want to spend a lot of time and effort helping those ministries. But I'm pretty lost on how I ask for, how I partner with them and say, okay, am I going to be taking a cut? Am I going to be taking a cut of a YouTube channel?
Yeah. It's kind of, it's hard.
I have never had the, background or experience with that, so I don't know what to expect.
And I guess the ethics behind it too, to profit off of,
well,
something.
I'm not even saying the ethics, because there's a lot of managers who come in, join, and really help a person in the beginning of their YouTube channel, and they would be a huge part of their team.
Oh no, I'm not saying that, because this has to do with your religion now.
Oh yeah.
Profiting off of your religion, even though it's not that way, it still can be seen as that way.
Yeah.
That's not your intention, but
yeah,
that's kind of what makes it hard to navigate around.
Yeah, I don't want to make profit my priority in place of the religion. At the end of the day, I gotta make a living, but first, I want to. There's a huge when Jesus was asked what are the most important commandments, he was like, love for God and love for others. So I want to make sure that I'm doing the things that I do out of love, out of true, genuine caring for people. Mm-hmm. And I have trust that somehow, wealth will come.
Right, as a byproduct.
As a byproduct.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm going to navigate it.
Yeah.
But I still believe that creating content about Catholicism and consulting Catholic churches, or consulting in some way, advising, is going to be a huge thing that I'm not going to steer away from.
Yeah, and I think it's a really large untapped market. I can't think of one single person or group that's doing what you're doing. Mm-hmm. Maybe because I'm not that involved into that community. Yeah. So I don't really see it as much, but a normal Joe would know who Mr. Beast is. Yeah. So it's not that. What I'm saying is what you're doing isn't mainstream, and you have the potential of making it mainstream. Yeah. That's
a huge goal, man.
Yeah.
Because let me test the audio first.
Gotta always test the audio.
There's a YouTuber, Mark Rober, and I don't know if you've seen one of his videos pop up.
Oh my god, I watch it all the time.
Oh, dude, Mark Rober. Yeah. He uses his background with engineering and NASA to make his videos interesting. Mm-hmm. To have a story there, like a freaking squirrel maze where each squirrel, have you seen his recent one? Each squirrel has a story behind them and a name, and then he has this huge imagination that he implements into the video. But he uses engineering for number one, entertainment.
Right.
And number two, I know that he started having a course to provide people who have an interest in engineering the education to be self-taught in that. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of potential if you're someone with mainstream viewership like that, to show people this is something that's universal. Maybe engineering is not universal, but Catholicism is. Having a relationship with God, the person that made us, is universal.
Yeah. Well, I beg to differ. I think engineering surrounds all of us. The house that we're in right now, it was created by engineers. The dirt that we stand on, that was created by God. So every single thing has the potential of becoming mainstream, as Mark Rober proves. And at face value, if you ask somebody who doesn't know about Mark Rober, just 10 years ago when he wasn't big on YouTube, what do they think about engineering? Do you think something like that can be, created into content, to something fun and enjoyable? And they would say, no, that sounds boring. Yeah. I don't like engineering. But I think everything has the ability to become mainstream for everyone to be able to relate to. And I think you could definitely pull that off.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. So one of the things unless you have anything else to say, to segue into the book, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I got a couple more questions.
Are you being sarcastic?
No.
Okay.
No, I asked all my questions. Yeah, I did. I just wanted to make sure I didn't want to miss anything.
Well, actually, I have a couple of questions. To segue into the Atomic Habits book, I don't want to depend too much on my work ethic is important, and work ethic stems from building up the systems to make it so even on your worst day, you can still show up. Mm-hmm. And you can't develop a work ethic unless you show up. And basically, I just want to figure out ways to implement the teachings of that book. Because, I've been doing better than, let's say, a year ago or 6 months ago.
Yeah.
But there's always some room for improvement.
And I think we tend to always be hard on ourselves. If we look at the grand scheme of things, what we were doing a little over a year ago doesn't amount to what we're doing now. We should just be thankful for the fact that we're, starting something great in our lives and be okay with it not progressing as fast as we want it to. We have to learn to be patient. So I think that's another important thing, as well as work ethic. If you have a work ethic, you can keep showing up every day, but you're not going to show up every single day with the same kind of attitude if you don't have patience.
Yeah. That's really good.
Yeah. So let's go into the table of contents. Or do you want to read the whole book while we're here?
Right now? Yeah.
Yeah, all 300 pages of it.
Yeah, we got time. I got 70%.
Well, first of all, did we give a little introduction about what this book is? I mean, it's in the name itself.
Discover the secret to results that last.
Yeah. Well, how did this book impact us? I know for me, it was one of the first books like that I started reading of this genre of self-help. Yeah. And I thought it was monumental to me.
Yeah.
It put me in the right mindset and allowed me to know what it is I need to do in order to work towards achieving my goals. I think the main teaching of that book is to focus more on the process rather than the goals. The process that'll help you achieve those goals.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the...
You're just looking at a blank page right now.
Oh, I'm actually looking at
It's like Ben trying to act like he's reading.
I'm looking at this side thing. But...
Not going to table of contents.
Well, here's a description. A proven framework for getting 1% better every day. That's a huge,
Oh, yeah. That was like our
summary.
motto in the first couple of episodes of this monthly check-in series.
Yeah. Alright, so we got the fundamentals, why tiny changes make a big difference. We got the first law, make it obvious. Mm-hmm. The second law, make it attractive. The third law, make it easy. The fourth law, make it satisfying. Yeah, I could actually use a lot of these.
Yeah.
Really.
I think this is a kind of book where you gotta come back to it every year.
Yeah.
Like a yearly read, most definitely. I think I'd want to work on creating better systems that can help free up my time. I think that's what this chapter is about, the law of least effort.
Okay.
So and it also correlates to the 80-20 rule, about how 20% of your actions leads to 80% of the outcomes in your life. And then 80% of your actions leads to 20%.
That's interesting.
So,
yeah, I've heard of it.
You're the one who introduced the 80-20 rule to me. It's called the Pareto effect.
Yeah, I don't know where I don't implement it in my life. Maybe that's something I should work on too.
It's a sign.
I want to know how much I can fit on my plate and constantly push the boundaries and
more
not get
than
complacent.
You can expect.
What?
Huh?
Oh.
No, I think there is. I think what you were saying in the beginning about how when you're at the house, what do you feel like less productive because of the environment you're in?
Yeah, and also making the TikToks has helped because it's less production time.
Yeah.
So I guess my problem is
your head's not.
I guess my problem is
one thing that Bill Gates said, a lot of people overestimate what they can do in a year, but they also underestimate what they can do in 10 years.
Yeah.
So it's all a time game. Time and repetition.
Oh, okay. You gotta keep it in between the arrows.
That's what you said to me. Maybe what we gotta work on is our focus.
Yeah, that's actually it. Focus in the house.
There you go. Well, that was a great example.
Focus in the house because...
That's why I don't do any work at the house.
Really?
Yeah, and I think I remember something mentioned in the book, environment plays a huge role in your productivity.
Yeah.
Because in the house, that's where, you go to decompress. You can't have the place where you work at also be the place where you relax at, because it confuses your mind.
Yeah, that's it. My house is my
house
office.
The problem. I must burn it down.
My house is my office. So literally most of my time is spent in my room and then in the house.
And then when
I
you're
just
done
walk around.
working, you're still in your room.
Yeah.
So your mind's like, okay, what am I doing right now? Am I working or am I relaxing?
Environment is
Get
important.
that shit cleared out.
Thank you guys for watching. I'll see y'all
Like this.
next month. Say goodbye, bro.
Bye.